Nate is with us today, the Acres. Came all the way from Buffalo to ask a couple questions. We already had a little Q&A. We thought it was so good we decided to tape it. So, yeah.
Keep going? Alright, what role or goal do you have in combating climate change and injustice?
Climate change and injustice.
Those are two different things, but they could be connected.
Yeah. Well, some of it is just getting the kids as involved as we can. You know, I think that's the youth ed programs, trying to get as much exposure as early on as we can, just getting awareness up. Seems pretty crucial. And then we already discussed a good bit about sort of assessment of our fossil fuel footprint, trying to be more accountable for that, really in our day-to-day, serve as much as we can as an example of reusing materials, recycling to a degree, more conservation, I think is really where it's at. And low tech as much as possible. I mean, like what we were talking about before, the getting on top of the root cellar and then augmenting the root cellar. So we build an ice house and then be able to extend the season for the root cellar, make it better. But looking at different ways to just refine efficiencies while still trying to make it accessible, make it as comfortable and convenient as possible. Yeah. It's a lot of design. And once again, it's sort of an awareness issue. I mean, we were talking a little bit about the central heat and how in this building, we try to use as much passive solar as we can and use wood as we need to, but be prepared to go down to 45 degrees. Yeah. And if you're down to 45 degrees, it is not comfortable unless you have on thermals.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's a whole switch in your day-to-day thinking. I think people are prepared to go indoors and be in their t-shirt. It's just not possible in New England in the wintertime.
Yeah. What water catchment and distribution system do you guys have? I see a lot of ponds around.
Water catchment is huge for us. We have a lot of accessibility to water. We're really blessed. There's just a bounty coming off this hill. It seeps and flows down off the hill, so you can do a lot of sort of collection and slow release. And what we've done is, through the landscape, create mechanisms for collection. Some swales, more likely we'll take a whole, this whole lens right here starts with that parking lot. Mm-hmm. And where we really discovered this is we built the parking lot, it became a problem. It was a water collection. Right. Like the parking lots in the urban area. Once you get that, you do deforestation and compaction, it creates a lens for collection. And so that water sheets off that parking lot, and what we did was put in a curtain drain all the way from there, all the way down. So there's a ditch as well as an underground perforated pipe. It runs all the way down there and creates it's a water source pretty much year-round. Whenever it's not frozen, it's flowing. Yeah. And it's just a lens now of that parking lot plus all of this pasture area, just collects that, takes it off our road bed, so it's solving that problem as well, sort of diverting it from and improving our accessibility along that roadway. So yeah, water is just a huge component of the landscape, and I think we try to take every opportunity to think consciously about it as it flows across. We want to make as much use of it as we can before it ends up in the Atlantic.
Yeah. So basically, your 4-pond system. I saw 4 ponds. Are they all connected, or?
In one way or the other, yeah. They all connect down to an area, sort of in the valley area, where then we're going to try to capture that and send it back again horizontally and downslope. So it's about developing those beds in sort of terrace garden fashion, so that when flood irrigate and we can pump out of the upper ponds down to those zones. Trying to make it so we're not necessarily always pumping water back uphill, but collecting it uphill and then dispersing it as it flows down through the watershed, more or less.
So yeah, you probably don't have to do much watering. I mean, with
Mulch.
external water.
Mulch is very important for the and then we do different locations. We'll use drip irrigation just to augment. It's very sandy soil here, so it wants to drain out. And just it's so the weather is so haphazard.
So mulch holds the water in.
Yeah.
What have been your most successful crops projects, and what have been your most difficult?
Crops. Well,
species, I guess.
When you say that, I think of people right off. In terms of helping to raise a perennial that's gonna endure and can really have a very positive effect on the ecology. So maybe people as a crop. I don't know. That's sort of stretching the English language, perhaps. I think, just in general, our food production capacity has grown tremendously. Like, when we came here, we didn't have, had like a half bushel of garlic. And that's what we showed up with. And now, we have a full root cellar, quite a bit of foods around on the premises. And it's just like not necessarily one crop that we depend on, but a really integrated system. So all through the summer, you're just harvesting and trying to preserve. So looking at different ways to preserve the crop becomes the problem. As opposed to not having enough, you're trying to figure out different ways to store it. Yeah. So as that integrated system, we had apple trees, we had all kinds of fruit. We got tons of herbs, all these, it's like drying herbs over here, canning applesauce over here, trying to figure out how to do like charcuterie with pig over here. And so there's all these different techniques happening. And so part of the crop is, preserving the crop. It's half the battle. You're growing it, and then you're preserving it for the fall, the following year. How this New England cycle works. So the crop is figuring out how to do that effectively. It don't matter how much you grow unless you can get it in, and get it in your mouth, get it in people's mouths. So I think that's once again maybe stretching the common definition of crop. But I think our success here is figuring out how to sequence, these beans have been harvested for 2 months now, and it's just a matter we didn't have time 2 months ago to shuck them or anything like that. Yeah. So it's like staging, figuring out how to stage stuff so that you can get it all done. That's the crop. Organization, practice, and experience.
Do you have paper?
Yeah, paper.
I see a notebook right there. Somebody's notebook.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Well, you can take some pages out of it. Yeah. They should go in the house. There's all those kids in there playing with bunnies. Yeah. Okay. Who doesn't want to play with bunnies?
So I said, the kids are in the house playing with bunnies. The kids aren't playing with bunnies.
She stopped.
Cookies!
She's never had cookies.
You don't have a cookie yet. No, you don't have to have them. We don't force them on.
Can we go this way? Watch, you'll see the kids in there. Real honest.
Okay, so, oh yeah, you're talking about, okay, I got a lot of other questions. Financially, how did you get started? Operational costs, does it support itself? What are success, pitfalls?
Sure. So it's the economics of this operation?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're heavily subsidized, particularly in the beginning,
Yeah.
to get the infrastructure up. Like this building.
Yeah.
Whoo-wee. Came out, it has to come out of somebody's pocket.
Yeah.
So I flipped my parents upside down and run them.
Yeah.
It was a big leap of faith on their part. They definitely very generous people and very. I'm not sure they had total confidence in what I was doing or total trust in what I was doing. And I don't really know if they believe in what we're doing, per se. Mm-hmm. But they have a willingness to see it through. This was really a gift. You need allies like that to get these sort of things started, and I think it can come from the state, it can come from private individuals, and it can come from groups. What we tried to do is set one type of model, and then just looking to evolve off of that. But we came into it with the family land. There was 200 acres here that my aunt and uncle had bought for $900 in the 1940s. And that land is a gift unto itself. And then we get here, and we leveraged all this money that my parents had made through my dad's physician. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't really get into medicine to make money, but did make quite a bit, sort of that era. And so then we redistributed those funds into this project. That's the concept. Yeah. It's sort of a redistribution. I definitely think there's enough wealth in this world to get these sort of projects up and running. Yeah. What is the wealth you actually need? You need the land. Mm. You need the capacity to build structures, some materials, and lots of that can be sourced from the land. Yeah. This building is pretty conventional, but most of the structures on this property were recycled or reclaimed.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
So, what you need is a site, you need some infrastructure, and you need the people. You gotta have people that are passionate about this work to make this happen. We depend a lot on volunteer, we depend on retirees, we depend on students, just trying to draw from that pool in our community. Because economically, in this day and age, farming at the level we're farming, trying to really care for the land, care for our resources, and make it a really minimal inputs, or minimal fossil fuel inputs with maximum returns. It's not economically advantageous in terms of dollars. Yeah. That being said, we're a nonprofit. Our operating budget is between $100,000 and $150,000 per year. There's all kinds of costs. You got insurance, you got salaries, you got food costs, you got rent, you got just the bills. So how do you pay for that? You just try to be as diverse as you can on your income streams. Diversity, consistency is nice. You're trying to build your income streams. So you build and try to build every year, you know, the amount that you get in contributions. You try to build as much as you can, like if you're going that route, foundations, you know, getting grants. You try to build your cottage industry, so we try to, you know, sell different products, wood products, you know, woodworking, or herbal tea, sell some of that. Try to grow our educational programming, so there's more revenue that's possible through those avenues. Just try to be really diverse on our income streams, but like I said, consistent results. You don't want to let one become to the point where it's no longer viable. I mean, you can sort of cut down lost leaders, but like the wood shop, even if we don't have time in a specific year to make a whole lot of furniture or, you know, wooden spoons or something like that, it's still there. Like, we can always pick that back up and go hot and heavy out of that. We have the infrastructure, we have the wood. It's just a matter of putting that with the skills of the people, and it can become a major revenue stream. So, it's sort of assessment, evolution based on the personnel, the year to year, where our efforts and energies need to be. And all that's dictated as well by the commitment to service to the community. So the backbone is trying to do the mission work, doing the stuff on site that needs to be done, and reaching out to the broader community. And so that's, I mean, as much money as we make, we'll spend on that. It's not like we're accumulating capital.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of low having some people.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess, like, how many people can this project support?
It's seasonal.
Yeah.
So in the winter, you know, it's I'd say around 5, 6, 7 usually. Sometimes it goes down, it'd be 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And there's always like an overlap of people coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
Most people we ask to come for a minimum of 6 weeks, and they typically work 50 plus hours a week and don't get paid. While there's others that are on staff that have sort of a longer term commitment. Staff is usually between 2 and 4 people, and they get paid. And they probably work 150 hours a week. So that being said, in the summertime it can be up to close to 15. Like 15 is max. And more often than not, it's like 10-ish. But there's always these overlaps of people. So yeah, sometimes it can get up to 15. I think in the long term, we'd like to grow it to be more multi-generational and to have like maybe up to 30 people on this property, you know, different ages. But we need to do a lot in terms of 4-season accommodations, because we're more set up for 3-season accommodations right now. We need more kid-friendly and more elderly-friendly.
Like I said, I guess we sort of went through a lot of this. In the northern climate, how are you able to make it through winter with food specifically? How does that affect your design? Or I guess that's evolving. You're looking into it more now. But.
Well, in terms of food consumption, when we came here, I was a vegetarian. And I was the type of vegetarian that ate a lot of processed vegetable protein. So, you know, you're getting into all these imported to this region, soy products, and industrial soy. Yeah. And that's not a pretty picture either. New England's not like Hawaii or some such. It's not like we can just walk around and be vegans eating off mangoes or avocados off trees. It is the winter comes every year. It's relentless, and you got to sort of prepare up for it. as we came in with that vegetarian sort of idealistic concept, it came to us that if we were going to be vegetarians here long term, we really needed a system to develop more arable land. And we are taking advantage of a partnership with animals to accomplish that. So we're taking a lot of, trying to pick the flat land around here because it's mostly sloped, and doing pig tractor type stuff, chicken tractor type stuff, to clear land and to add fertility. And these pigs and chickens and other critters are partners in this, but we are eating them. And so there's definitely I'm just sort of I had to kill some animals here, and I'd like to work away from that. But it is a matter of getting that arable land, getting enough space to grow more beans, and building the fertility. And I think a lot of it too is trying to get these perennial crops, like the nut trees, more established. And then you can have a reliable protein source.
Yeah.
But until that time, you're just sort of kicking the ball down the road until you get to that level. Because food security's got to be a local food security, and that ethical diet has to be aware of the complexity of the system. Complexity of the food system.
What places and systems in your design have you found to be most interconnections made and symbiotic?
You know, like this property.
Yeah, I mean, I guess walking through, I saw like right here you got almost, you have greenhouses almost after every structure, which seem pretty advantageous, like design-wise.
So integration of design on site.
Yeah. Or different plants that worked well together. Things like, it's good that we placed that here next to this thing. It makes it work and flow better. And, the connections between the parts.
Well, yeah, definitely lots of passive solar. Lots of trying to create polycultures with, you got your overstory food forest type scenarios. So definitely lots of efforts in that. And really the dynamic accumulators, comfrey, mullein, L-campaign, really strong for us in the herbaceous layer. Heartnut, serviceberry, apples, obviously really strong for us in the overstory, mid-stories. In terms of the symbiotic, I think that whole animal, where you going into the northern forest, gleaning from the northern forest, cutting out the wood, and then putting the animals to the cleared land, and then that becomes arable land for the food forest regeneration. So that cycle in itself, I think is trying to scratch everybody's back. There's something about when we first came here, we did have some trouble with the local authorities because we don't fit into just the farm category. It's a little bit more than a farm. We're trying to do community outreach and events and stuff like that. It's a whole other thing. So you sort of have to take that to heart in some ways and design to encompass all the activities that you want to do. So I think thinking about things like playground, or thinking about people housing in terms of tree houses or outbuildings. Like you want kids here on the farm, we'll make it fun for them. You want resident housing, make it fun for them. Try to think outside the box in those ways, in terms of really opening the diversity of the operation, I think, what it comes down to.
Has your on-site learning programs worked? How do you promote and recruit, and is that effective?
Well, so there's an array of on-site programming.
Yeah, we've gone through this a lot, but yeah.
Workshops and like PDC, we offer a permaculture design course 1 weekend per month through 7 months, and then we do a community food event pretty much every weekend. So first Sunday breakfast, second Friday pizza and movie, last Friday open mic and potluck. So pretty much every weekend there's something going on here. Family fun, low cost. The breakfast is the most well attended. It's during the day. It's on Sunday. People come from up to 2 hours away. It's a real social thing. Lots of people from like the university, college kids come up here, socialize, sort of treat their weekend illnesses.
And I guess, have your students applied your knowledge? Do you keep in touch and see, is there like a relationship that's been developed there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's easier than it ever has been to a degree with the social media and the internet and all that, but it's also like, trying to retain the genuine connection.
Yeah.
So what's great about this place is we do have the facilities where people can come back and visit. We also operate a bed and breakfast. So people come back with their friends and family, see what's happening to the place, see how it's evolving. We have that social media presence, which is easy for people to stay connected as well.
Yeah.
So I think that heightens their awareness to a degree of what's going on.
Do the things that they do inspire you guys in return?
Yeah.
Have they gone on to do?
Oh yeah, some insane stuff in terms of outreach globally. Going to act as envoys or service throughout the world, Peace Corps type stuff, or just service projects. Organizing those types of things, organizing their own classes, courseworks, homesteads, doing work at the municipal level. That's energy, consultants, designers, teachers, lots of teachers that come through the years who have taken what they've learned here and applied it in the classrooms. So that's pretty exciting.
What do you see as permaculture's role in overall justice struggles? Where do you see it going, and how could it be improved?
Well, I think this is a little touchy. People are very passionate about this, and I think everybody's got their own perspective and opinion. But to me, like, permaculture is the way it should be, correct? Like the way we're working towards a society that can maintain itself versus a society of exploitation and destruction. So it's dependent on social justice. It's dependent on economic equities, parities. How do we get there? I think is really the fundamental, because it's a transformation. You know, a lot of infrastructure and a lot of legwork needs to be done on the ground, so to speak. But it's also this work in the head that seems like the most. It's not going to work without that, unless we can get our modus operandi into the people of an island who realize that they are limited to the resources on that island. Until we successfully raise that awareness, then I don't think we're acting as a conscious species. And I think, all this Cartesian theory has, it's an awareness of the self, of the individual, and a real, we push that envelope way too far. And we need to come back to a philosophical and ethical understanding that we're a species. And we need to represent as such. We can't just represent as individuals with self-interest. We need to represent as a species with a collective intention and interest in promoting life as far into the future as we can, as long as the sun allows us that honor and privilege. But that's a different perspective than the mainstream right now. It's more, everybody wants to accumulate gold.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do with it in the afterlife. It's like the pharaohs or something.
Naya? What is your forest garden design? Hi, girly. Hi.
How's it designed?
Yeah, like how do you go about that?
Well, a lot of it was just getting to know species, trying things over the years, planting stuff and maintaining it, and observation, I think, is really crucial. But at this point, it's like we have such abundance already on the property. It's about division and multiplication and sharing it with the region. So it's almost like the forest garden, getting the forest garden beyond the boundaries of this property and onto the landscapes of the neighbors, getting it onto like the forest garden. It shouldn't be limited to the sort of expectation of like, oh, we're going to build a garden. It's like, the valley is our garden, and we talk about having like a forest garden where there's plentiful pollinators and, the flora for the pollinators. Well, yeah, I don't want to think about it as just this piece of property. I want to think about it as the whole valley has abundance. The whole valley has abundance for birds. The whole valley has abundance for other forms of wildlife. And so that's the forest garden I see into the future. Yeah. Because the thing too, that the name forest garden is so like, it's evolving. Like I don't know if any of us have seen really what's the capacity of it, of the climax, or even the mid-succession. Like our walnut trees are still, like there's some out there, they're still barely producing walnuts. It's not like they're this big around and it's like bushels of walnuts. So that's like 50 or 75 years probably after I'm gone.
Is this Mate?
I don't know what that was. No, tea. It's just tea.
Is it okay?
It's got no caffeine.
Okay, that's the only person I am. We have a fun drive.
Herbal tea.
Okay,
so
yeah,
from the land.
So you basically your plantings. Yeah, so you go out. Like, where do you have like a line? Or like how far out do you go into like perceive like the woods? As far as
it's got, for anything to really work around here, you got to give it adequate sunlight. And so, like, that's part of like this hopscotch type game. Like we take the pigs, clear out a sector, get them in there to build fertility, and then you plant the walnut. It's like as big as your pinky.
Right.
You know, and then 15 years from then you get a walnut. It's so you're constantly sort of checkerboarding it, you know,
Yeah.
building little islands of it's northern forest, then you have ecological disruption of the pigs, and then it's a recreation of a new composition of food forest.
Yeah.
Because the northern forest is great, but it's more reliable in terms of building materials than food product and biomass.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot to eat in this forest that we got here. In the native vegetation.
I think that's pretty much all I got. So yeah, I guess this is a long. I guess for seeing it, it's like you're talking about future generations. How do you see transferring like this entity to keep it going as you get older?
No, it's a crucial.
Do you all right, sweetheart?
Could do some drawing. You're drawing that, man. Whatever, so everybody's good. So, I think it's like the real fundamental question. Because if you're engaging in like a collective, nonprofit anyway, it's just not like, nobody's saving or getting equity. No one's getting like a profit share type mechanism. So it's real difficult to build like traditional security. You know, like most people, they're trying to build their 401k or something like that. So this is a total leap of faith in lots of respects. It's sort of a build it and they will come type model. So I'm hoping that whatever I can build up over my lifetime in terms of infrastructure and knowledge will be valuable enough to some young people that will come along and help take care of me. Well, I guess that is the ideal version of this. And then, yeah, in terms of how to create farmland that's intergenerational, that's going to have the capacity to preserve